Hello, good evening. This is UTV Live.
Tonight at 6, security vetting under the spotlight. As the Prime Minister apologises to MPs for failures over the Peter Mandelson affair, concerns are raised about an appointment closer to home.
So if the Prime Minister is ordering a review by Sir Adrian Fulford, will he ensure it includes within its terms of reference or separately a deep dive into the appointment of Marie Anderson, the Northern Ireland Police Ombudsman?
Also ahead, police say that a fire at a former hotel in Ballycastle was started deliberately.
And UTV contacted GEM Swim School after the company closes, leaving customers out of pocket.
Plus the rest of the day's news and sport, including there were wins for Derry and Monaghan as the race for the Ulster Championship heats up.
And it was a day of blue skies and sunshine. But what does the weather have in store for the rest of the week? I'll have all of the details later with the forecast.
The Prime Minister has faced a bruising day in the House of Commons as he was grilled by MPs about the appointment of Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. Sir Keir Starmer apologised again after the revelation that Mr Mandelson was appointed to the high-profile role despite the fact that he had failed security vetting.
Well, let's join our political editor Tracy McGee live at Stormont. Tracy.
Paul, make no mistake, Keir Starmer is a Prime Minister fighting for his political life. You know, it used to be that Peter Mandelson was known as the Prince of Darkness, and his shadow and his appointment specifically as US Ambassador has cast a very long shadow over the Labour government. Today, Keir Starmer faced question after question from MPs, specifically around the security vetting for the role. But it was an allegation about an appointment closer to home that has raised eyebrows. The appointment of former Northern Ireland Police Ombudsman Marie Anderson. Let's hear what Gavin Robinson said during the debate.
Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister knows that he is the main character in an ongoing national scandal. And given all the blame apportioned in his statement, it is incredible that only one person has lost their position. But would the Prime Minister also recognise it is incredible to learn that in Northern Ireland a political appointment was made following the refusal to clear an individual for security access, that they have continued in their post, engaged on issues connected with the legacy of our troubled past with full security clearance, despite security service concerns, and they continue to this day. So if the Prime Minister is ordering a review by Sir Adrian Fulford, will he ensure it includes within its terms of reference or separately a deep dive into the appointment of Marie Anderson, the Northern Ireland Police Ombudsman? Why she was appointed, why the security information was ignored, and how this can be the case.
So important to say that Marie Anderson is no longer in post. She retired in December of last year. I think what Gavin Robinson was pointing to is the fact that although Marie Anderson has retired, no one has replaced her in that role. Now, in response to his question, the Prime Minister said that he would include the query in the Fulford review. Also important to say that in the last half hour we have received a statement from the Northern Ireland office, who of course were responsible for the appointment, because at that time Stormont was not operating. The NIO statement says that following the concerns raised today, we are looking into our records and we will respond as soon as possible. We have also reached out to the Department of Justice because questions were also asked about the former Permanent Secretary Peter May, who was the Perm Secretary in the Department of Justice at that time. We're still waiting on a response. And we we've also reached out to try to get in contact with Marie Anderson. So far, she has not given any response. Now, as we said at the start of this allegation came out of a debate facing the Prime Minister, being asked again and again by MPs sometimes from his own party, about the appointment of Peter Mandelson. Vicky Hawthorne was watching the debate. Here's her report.
Have you misled Parliament, Prime Minister? Will you resign, Mr. Starmer? Is this the beginning of the end, Prime Minister? Will this scandal sink your premiership? Why did you ignore vetting advice, Prime Minister?
The questions have been mounting for the Prime Minister about his appointment of Peter Mandelson, and they were unrelenting in Parliament. The Prime Minister apologised again for his decision to appoint Peter Mandelson, and also did his best to explain why he didn't know that his choice of person for such a significant job failed the government's highest security checks.
The recommendation in the Peter Mandelson case could and should have been shared with me before he took up his post. Mr. Speaker, let me make a second point. If I had known before he took up his post that UKSV recommendation was that developed vetting clearance should be denied, I would not have gone ahead with the appointment.
It was revealed last week that Foreign Office officials had approved Peter Mandelson's developed vetting status, giving him access to top secret government information, even though security experts had denied the clearance. Sir Keir Starmer has told MPs he has asked for a review of the vetting process and has now acted to change how it is carried out in the future. But for some Northern Ireland MPs, it's the Prime Minister's future that's now in question.
I think Keir Starmer should go. I think all we have in this world and all we have left in politics really is how we conduct ourselves in public life. And as I've been saying to constituents all weekend who have been so frustrated and disgusted at this whole scenario, if this was a small business person, if they accidentally filled in a form wrongly, they would have the taxman or whoever down on them like a ton of bricks. So why does the same principle not apply to the Prime Minister?
I think his position has become untenable for this reason, that he expects the country to believe that though he's the Prime Minister, making the most important diplomatic appointment there can be, the ambassadorship to Washington, and knowing he was appointing a most controversial figure, that never once did he ask, had his nominee Mandelson been security vetted?
The Prime Minister has had his say again about his handling of the appointment of Peter Mandelson, which has engulfed his government for months. Tomorrow it will be the turn of the senior civil servant, Sir Ollie Robbins, who was effectively sacked by Mr Starmer last week, to give his version of events. Vicky Hawthorne, UTV Live.
Be in no doubt, this is a controversy that will have a very long tail. As Vicky was saying in her report, the senior civil servant at the centre of all this, Ollie Robbins, will be giving evidence to MPs tomorrow, and questions are sure to continue here in Stormont about appointments and the security vetting around them. Here's the Ulster Unionist leader, John Burrows.
I do not have confidence in the vetting system in Northern Ireland when it comes to the point of political considerations. So, for example, I would have seen the vetting system work extremely well for public servants, police officers, other people who had access to that. But one of the problems in Northern Ireland is when you start dealing with things that are politically sensitive, do people start making different decisions?
Well, as I was saying, this is going to continue for some time. Keir Starmer is far from out of the danger zone, and less than 3 weeks to elections in Scotland, Wales and the rest of GB. Don't forget that last week our politicians were calling for a meeting with the Prime Minister to discuss the dire financial situation Stormont now finds itself in. With all that going on, what do you think the chances are that he'd be willing to meet with our politicians?
Tracy McGee live at Stormont. Thank you.
To other news now, and a large fire at an historic building in Ballycastle is being treated as arson. Dozens of firefighters were involved in bringing the blaze at the former Antrim Arms Hotel under control.
The alarm was raised shortly after 8 o'clock last night. Barbara McCann has spent the day in the seaside town and sends this report.
Here outside the former Antrim Arms Hotel, it's business as usual. The listed building itself has been closed for years, but it remains a focal and talking point, especially after last night's fire. 42 firefighters and 2 aerial appliances were involved in tackling the blaze at its height, alongside command support. Streets in the surrounding area were closed while the fire was brought under control. In the daylight, the full extent of the damage can be seen. Local Sinn Féin councillor Cara McShane says the community is devastated.
The Antrim Arms is an iconic building. It's part of the heritage of the town. It's one of the oldest buildings in County Antrim. It's hundreds of years old. There's lots of nostalgia attached to this building, but unfortunately the fire last night has just left a huge blight in the middle of Ballycastle town centre.
An application to demolish the derelict listed building was refused last year, and there is an ongoing court case in connection with it. The owner is abroad at the moment and unavailable for interview. The state of the former Antrim Arms Hotel has long been a talking point among locals and visitors to Ballycastle.
I think it's a crying shame it's sitting the way it is. The man wanted to fix that up years ago and he wasn't allowed. Now, across the road, they were able to keep the front of that building, but build a new bit to the back. Why could they not have done the same thing there?
I mean, it definitely is an eyesore, most people's opinion, so I'd say they would like to see something done with it.
It's in the centre of the town, so it's obviously a lovely landmark, and it could have been something very beautiful. It could have been used to be something that could have drawn more people to the area, and it's just a real shame, really disappointing really.
The Royal Society of Ulster Architects has called for a robust response to the fire.
First of all, the site needs to be made safe. Then there should be an assessment of the damage and, most importantly, what can be saved. And really at this point we would say there's a great onus on the owner to ensure that every option other than demolition is considered first. That finally a conservation architect should be appointed to look after this building and consider all of the alternatives that are available, whether that be partial demolition with some elements being saved, but we shouldn't rush to straight up demolition.
We're standing here in the Diamond, which has received £2 million funding from the Department for Communities for a revamp of the Diamond. That whole project has been held to ransom due to the infrastructure right behind us here and the closure of the Fairhill Street and the integrity of the Antrim Arms building. There needs to be a common sense approach, all the relevant bodies getting together and finding a positive way forward and working with the owner of the building.
The police have said that the fire was started deliberately and the circumstances are being investigated. Detectives want to hear from anyone who may have information that could help in their investigation.
Barbara McCann there. Now, a Belfast swim school has suddenly closed, leaving parents out of pocket and children without swimming lessons.
Gem Swim School sent an email to all customers last week, telling them the news, but gave no explanation or details about refunds. Well, Jordan Moore joins us now in the studio. So what more can you tell us about this?
Rose, basically this all started when parents contacted us to say that they were concerned about an email that had been sent on Monday the 13th of April by the school to basically say we're closing our doors now and then, and they thanked parents, but they didn't give any explanation for why Gem Swim School was closing, and many parents are left feeling down and frustrated about the whole situation.
Everyone's angry. I mean, there hasn't really been much of an explanation. It was very basic. We are now closed. Like I say, no apology, no offer of refund or no explanation as to why they couldn't refund. So I think a lot of people are annoyed, mainly more around the kids now having to restart again, trying to find another swim school that they can go to when they've built up relationships with these teachers. My son's been going for over a year now, so he's used to everyone there, and I don't know if it would be the same if he moved somewhere else.
Now, on that email that was sent and on the issues of money, we've seen that email ourselves, and there's no mention in that email about any refunds being given out. And many members who are using the service have paid for lessons up front and have also, block booked. So there is concerns that if refunds aren't given out, parents like Sarah will be left significantly out of pocket.
Well, we were told it would be advisable to pay cash, which that's fine. And both children we paid, one was for 8 weeks, the other was for 9 weeks. So it was, say, 150 each. And we're still owed 5 lessons each for each child. So that works out over £100 still we're owed.
Now, we have contacted GEM Swim School ourselves, but they haven't replied to our emails or to our phone calls, and their website as well as their social media platforms seem to either have been deleted or are currently down. We also contacted Methodist College Belfast, which allows the swim school to use their pool. They're in a similar situation to us. They've also contacted the swim school but have heard nothing back. But what is interesting, we contacted Company's House, and according to them, the swim school, GEM Swim School, is still listed as trading, and they say that for it to cease trading, that would be a lengthy process, which, as far as they're concerned, hasn't been initiated yet. So it's difficult to see what will happen going forward.
I haven't heard the last of this. Jordan Moore, thank you very much.
A 40-year-old man has been arrested after firing a crossbow at the police and brandishing a sword in Kilkeel. Officers were called to Moorfield Court last night after receiving reports of an armed man in a balaclava threatening residents. During a 4-hour standoff, the police also received threats with the sword and were targeted with crossbow bolts. Plastic bullets and a taser were used to detain the man.
A court has heard that PSNI officers searching for Noah Donohoe never thought that they would find the schoolboy in the storm drain tunnel where his naked body was eventually discovered.
The 14-year-old was found 6 days after leaving his home in South Belfast in 2020. A retired inspector was giving evidence today at the inquest into his death. Katie Andrews reports.
Noah Donohoe was just 14 years old when he disappeared in June 2020. The schoolboy had left his home in South Belfast to meet friends in the Cave Hill area. 6 days later, his body was found inside a storm drain in North Belfast. A post-mortem confirmed he died by drowning. Today, the inquest into Noah's death resumed at Belfast Coroner's Court. It's now in its 12th week. Revealing in the courtroom today, a retired PSNI inspector told jurors his search team examined the culvert in North Belfast only to rule out the possibility the teenager had entered it. The officer said searching for human remains was never the aim of the operation, describing that suggestion as a poor choice of words in an earlier statement. The inquest continues. Katie Andrews, UTV Live.
Well, now, still to come on the programme.
Monaghan set up a semi-final date with Derry in the Ulster Championship.
And Louise will be here with the weather forecast. Well, I'm now looking at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, the Prime Minister fights for his survival as he updates the Commons over the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal. The decline of public toilets across England that's leaving many with nowhere to go. And the zoologist and author Desmond Morris has died at the age of 98. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, a lot of you are probably very well aware that Northern Ireland's film and television industry has contributed almost £480 million to the local economy over the last 4 years.
And today, NI Screen brought production companies and talent from across the world to Belfast to discuss its latest strategy. Our reporter, Paul Riley, went along to find out more.
Building global audiences with local talent. Much has been made of Northern Ireland's booming film and TV industry. NI Screen now says the last 4 years have exceeded its expectations.
We are unbelievably proud that despite difficult market conditions, we exceeded our targets. We had £477 million spent on people and services here in Northern Ireland against a target that was 440. And that's during a period where there were global writers' strikes, all sorts of challenges. So we're delighted, we're growing, and that's fabulous.
Today, NI Screen brought those at the heart of the industry together in Belfast for the launch of its new strategy. Among them, homegrown award-winning director Andrea Harkin, fresh from her success with HBO's A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
It's a bit of a dream come true. I pinch myself all the time that I'm working on this massive show. Not only is it a massive show, it's a very brilliant show. I love it. I'm a fan of it as myself. I think it's got humour and warmth and all the rest of it. But just knowing that there's millions and millions of people watching, it's highly pressured, but it's a great experience. It feels like a good payoff to years of graft. There's loads of production happening, and I think it's because people know that we've got the crews, we've got the studio, we have the resources, and we have amazing landscapes, we have great cities and towns. So yeah.
Discussions here today focusing on the future of the industry, including the use of artificial intelligence or AI.
AI for most people in the industry here is pretty terrifying. And that's the truth of it. That's the first, they'll admit it. That's their first response. You know, it's a challenge to the way they've done things for a long time. It's a challenge to jobs. It's a challenge to their creativity. But it is also a massive opportunity, and it can be a massive creatively facilitating additional tool. And our job at Northern Ireland Screen is to help everybody develop the skills, to have the tools.
So what are the ambitions of NI Screen strategy over the next 4 years?
We haven't talked numbers so far in this strategy, but I would be on the hard numbers. I'd be looking for at least a 50% increase in terms of numbers. So, do the math. We did 477 million the last time.
Paul Riley, UTV Live, Belfast.
It's Monday today, so that means we'll have a look at the weekend sport next.
And here's Ruth.
Work boots during the week, football boots at the weekend. Mulholland Maxus proudly sponsors UTV Sport Updates.
Good evening. Monaghan and Derry will meet in the Ulster Championship semi-finals after a weekend of drama in the Ulster Championship. Daniel Duffy was at both quarter-final games for us.
Derry hadn't won an Ulster Championship match in over 2 years, so Saturday's game with Antrim was the perfect opportunity to end that winless run. But in the early stages, Antrim found the back of the net. Was a shock on the cards. In truth, it never looked like Derry were in any trouble and responded, and they should have had more goals in the first half. In the second half, Kieran Meenan's team brushed the Saffrons aside. The Oakleafers safely through to the last 4, but they will know they have to be much better if they are to make it to an Ulster final.
There was a decent spread of scores, and we left an awful lot behind us, particularly in the first half. There were quite a number of goal chances we created there and we didn't take. So, if we want to get to an Ulster final, we'll definitely have to rectify that the next day.
We want Antrim boys, Antrim players as best as anybody. They want to be playing more of that there, but unfortunately we have to get up the divisions or want to try and get a good run in the Tailteann Cup to try and expose ourselves to more of that. And we've only the Tailteann Cup left now, and it's a competition we're going to go after with everything we have.
Meanwhile, on Sunday, Monaghan started strongly against neighbours Cavan. They led 15-8 at half-time, but Cavan bounced back in the second half. Tiernan Madden with a goal.
Real chance for Cavan, surely a goal! They're back in the match!
Rory Beggan was excellent in goal for the Farney County. He denied Patrick Lynch from the penalty spot. Darragh Lovett did add another goal for Cavan, but Monaghan held on to progress to the semi-final.
Oh, Rory was absolutely magnificent today now, between kick-outs, 45s, free kicks and shot stopping. No, he was just on top of his game, but that's what we have in our armour with Rory. He's one of the best, if not the best keeper in the country, and that's him at his very, very best there today.
I've seen a lot of goals in the league, and there's goals there where I felt I should have done better, so it's been a really good 4 weeks with the goalkeeping coach and the other boys. We've really pushed each other, and as I said, you fall to your level of training, and as I said, it's been really good. So we can't really fall back and go soft these next 2 weeks. We haven't been in an Ulster final in Clonus since 15, so that's our target now is to really look at Derry and then focus on ourselves.
So a good weekend for Derry and Monaghan as they secured their place in the last 4 of the Ulster Championship. The sides will go toe-to-toe in a fortnight's time. Daniel Duffy, UTV Live at St Tiernan Park in Clonus.
Now, Mark Allen is through to the last 16 of the World Championship. Allen came from behind in the opening session against China's Zhang Anda to produce some of his best snooker and secure the first round victory. And what helped turn things around? Well, a burger and a couple of drinks on Saturday, according to the Antrim man.
The pride of Northern Ireland, he's Mark the Pistol Allen.
Mark Allen called his opening session at the World Championship embarrassing. He trailed Zhang Anda 5-3 on Saturday as he failed to make a break of 50. But taking a night off from his current healthy regime to have a few drinks and a burger, Allen found some of his best form on Sunday as he produced a masterclass that included 3 centuries in 5 frames.
Definitely not advocating for that type of preparation, but I just felt like yesterday it was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. No, it was just, I was so down on myself, and I was just like, I need to do something. I genuinely need to do something different here just to get this out of my system, and I did. And I was lucky to have like a couple of close friends with me that sort of reined me in a little bit whenever I wanted to go mad, and we ended up just back at the apartment then for 6, I think it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock, watched the Spurs game, watched the United game after that, and then it got an early night. So I felt like those few hours, it did get it out of my system, but then I was like, switch back on for tomorrow.
The Pistol is back at the Crucible on Thursday, where he'll face either 2024 champion Kyren Wilson or 19-year-old Stan Moody in the last 16. Alan's best finish at the World Championship is the semi-finals. He reached those in 2009 and 2023. He's already won 2/3 of snooker's Triple Crown, the Masters and the UK Championship. But this is the one he's been chasing for 20 years.
You heard it here first, the Diet of Champions. Now, a point will be enough for Lauren to secure their 3rd league title in 4 seasons this weekend. They faced Dungannon Swifts at Invert Park, where a draw will be enough for Gary Haverin's side. Meanwhile, Northern Ireland's women picked up a 2nd win in a row over Malta in the space of a week in World Cup qualifying. A 4-2 victory in Malta on Saturday secured 8 goals over both games and their first away win in 2 years. Ellie Mason scored twice as they kept their playoff hopes alive. Ulster Rugby are down to 5th in the United Rugby Championship after defeat to Leinster over the weekend. Meanwhile, in Galway, Ireland picked up their first win of the Women's Six Nations with a 57-20 victory over Italy. It will be a huge confidence boost for Ireland ahead of their trip to France this weekend. Finally, they've worked together at Leicester and Celtic. Now they'll face each other as managers. Martin O'Neill's Celtic will meet Neil Lennon's Dunfermline Athletic in the Scottish Cup final on May the 23rd. That's your sport. Bye for now.
Let's go for a kick around. John Mulholland Motors proudly sponsors UTV Sport Updates.
The weather's next.
Louise is outside in the last of the sun. Will the good weather continue, Louise?
It doesn't look like a bad week at all, Rose. Plenty of sunshine on the way, 1 or 2 spots of rain at times, but for most it's largely fine, dry and settled due to high pressure. Now, believe it or not, the sun is actually as strong at the minute as it would be at the end of August. We have moderate UV levels this week, so if you're out in the sunshine for any length of time, even though it doesn't feel that warm, the sun is quite strong, so do take care. Temperatures into the mid to high teens by the end of the week, cool and chilly overnight. Gardeners beware. Here's the forecast.
When it's unpredictable outside, you can rely on the comforts of home. UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
So we have lots of lovely spells of sunshine on the way through this week. Slightly breezier at times, especially around coastal areas, over the tops of the hills. But it's going to stay largely settled. Plenty of dry weather. High pressure continues to dominate our weather. It's just to the north of us towards Iceland, keeping things largely settled. The odd shower always possible, but for most places we have plenty of sunshine. Towards the middle part of the week on Wednesday, we can expect the easterly breeze to pick up. There's quite a few isobars on the chart. A few late spells of sunshine this evening to end the day. Overnight, patchy cloud will start to build. We can expect 1 or 2 sharp showers to push in during the overnight period, but in the countryside, under clearer skies, temperatures will fall away close to freezing, so there's a possibility of a touch of frost as we head towards dawn. A cloudy start tomorrow then, a few isolated showers, but becoming drier across eastern areas with plenty of bright and sunny spells developing. Slightly cloudier across the west with the chance of a few showers into the afternoon. But temperatures ranging from 11 to 14 degrees Celsius. Once again, quite breezy around coastal areas. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a very similar story. Plenty of sunshine through the day. Patchy cloud will start to bubble up, with producing 1 or 2 showers in places, but a brisk easterly breeze will take the edge off the temperatures, highs of 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. Over the coming days then, we have plenty of fine, dry, settled weather on the way, lots of sunshine, breezier on Wednesday, settling down through Thursday and Friday, and there is a possibility temperatures will increase into the mid to high teens across western areas as we head towards the latter part of the week. That is the very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
That's it this Monday, the 20th of April. Paul will have our late bulletin at 10:50.
The ITV News continues with Mary Nightingale. From Rose, from me and the rest of the team, good evening.
Good evening.